Oh, there we go. I think it's going to work. Good morning. My name is Jenny. I'm an animal communicator and energy healer for animals and their people too. And this is B. Sorry about the view. And oh, good job, Mama. Science, good. All right. It's kind of wet. I don't want to get my lines wet, but I think we're going to have to. All right, sweet pea. We're going to get ready to work. We are long lining. Let's go right about there today. Very good. So I thought I would share a little bit of our work with you. He is a 21-year-old walking horse. She's a foster from Gate Rescue here in Maryland. And my goal with her is to, let's set a timer, hang on. Oh, come on. Okay, good job. Thank you for giving me a moment to pause. And we're already off again. There we go. My goal with her is to just support her body and work on some rehab work. So that is what this technique is designed to do. It's called long reining or long lining. And we're going to see what we get. She has been with me since March. And it took us a couple months before we were able to get on the long lines. She was extremely reluctant to allow me onto the right side of her body. She's blowing some snot out this morning. She's got some allergy issues that we are currently working on. But I thought I would share a little bit about what I do and how we work. So this technique is designed to help align her spine straight. Just like humans, horses have the ability to twist their spine. And that is actually the result, or the cause, I should say, of a lot of challenges that people have when riding. The horse is actually misaligned and they don't realize it. And so therefore the things they're asking their horse to do are challenging because the horse physically is struggling to do them at all. Being 21 years old, and she has had a couple babies that we're aware of. Oh, good job, Mama. It gives her some body challenges combined with the fact that she is gated. And there's a lick and chew. Fantastic. Being gated, that makes her joints a little looser and a little wobbly. And that means it's harder for her to find stability in her skeleton and in her body. So this work is aiming to set her up so that she can find that. Flies are still bad despite being cool again. So my goal, or my job on the long reins, is to receive feedback from the inside rein, which is in my left hand right now, and adjust the outside rein accordingly with the goal that they should be even. The tension should remain even in my hands. The reason that it's not is because she is wobbling. So her body is out of alignment. A horse that is in alignment can maintain this posture comfortably, maintain the circle comfortably with ease. She does okay and then wobbles a bit and then does okay and then wobbles a bit. I am happy when she puts her head down because that means she is releasing tension through the top of her neck and into her back. And that has a ripple effect on her being able to align her spine when her head is up above the level of her back. Then she is moving using muscles that are not in her optimal alignment and optimal balance. So if you think about if you lift your head and tense your neck, that causes your upper chest muscles to engage. It probably hollows your back, which puts your pelvis out of alignment, which causes different muscles in your legs to engage if you were to walk around like that. And in essence, in a nutshell, that's what happens with horses when they're moving with their heads up above the level of their back in improper engagement. So I am watching for her head to drop as if on cue. And I'm watching for the muscles in her neck, whether they are tense or released. Breathing is good. Sighing is good. Signs of release. You can't really hold a lot of tension and sigh. If you take a deep breath, you have to release tension. I also take that as an opportunity to take a nice deep breath myself, because I assume I'm probably holding my breath. So I use anytime any one of my animals sighs nice and big or yawns, I use it as an opportunity to remind myself that it's probably a good idea that I do that too. We can use cues from our pets like that. Are we pooping again? Oh my word. We worked out here last week for the first time this season, all summer really, and she was very wound up. It was a very windy day. It was pretty chilly. She was very wound up. So I'm kind of not surprised to see all the poop today. A little bit like making sure she can manage her energy if something happens. But she's staying nice and calm. And the slower she goes, the more thought and awareness she puts into her movement, which is ultimately what I'm looking for, what I would like to see. So I have my timer set for 30 minutes in this direction. Start with this. And then, good job. Go for 30 minutes the other way. That pause is not wrong on her part. There's a nice little chew. We'll talk about that later. That pause is fine. Really, she can do nothing wrong on the long lines. It's kind of my philosophy. It's all an exploration. And it's up to me to keep answering her questions with other questions, to keep asking her to find her balance. So when she does something, I say, okay, can you keep going? Can you slow down? Can you realign? Can you keep exploring? And frankly, I want to see her moving this slowly. Whoop, there's a big wobble. She spotted a fly and then couldn't control her balance, could not maintain her coordination, and she wobbled. If you sneezed and wobbled before when you were walking, it's kind of the same thing. So I want to see her slowing, because that means she's putting more awareness into the movement and how she's moving so that she can change that movement to make it easier for her. Physically, it will be easier. The challenge is she does not have the muscles to support it yet, so it's hard to maintain. That's why this work takes a lot of repetition and a lot of time simply in the work. So you see her head move up and down a lot. You see her steps look short and then long. You may even see them actually wobble from side to side. You may see her traveling crooked in the circle, so her body is not aligned with the path of travel. Good. Very good. Little snort, little breath. What's also funny about them working, particularly in a circle, it's very obvious what they do on almost any type of fairly repetitive pattern, is they will have a sweet spot. And her sweet spot of really getting into the exploration is right over here. So you'll notice this is where she slows down. Ooh, APG playing today. She slows down over here. Her steps get a little bit more consistent. She's a little more thoughtful on that side. And then she comes back around and kind of loses it. And then we swing back over here. She starts to get a little more organized again. A little slower. Head's a little further down. Muscles are a little more released. Lovely steps. And then we kind of come out. So there's no rhyme or reason as to why this happens, or where it happens, I should say. And it's interesting that it does seem to happen very consistently when you're working a pattern. There'll be one spot that's really good and one spot that's not so good. And it's not always next to the gate. It's not always towards the barn. There's no I have no awareness of why it happens that way. And sometimes they shift. It could be there's a slight slope change. I'm out here in one of my paddocks whose grass is already bad enough I don't really care about working on. And there's just no explanation as to where or why it happens. No, you're not eating. Thank you for checking in. She just kind of paused and looked at me. I don't know if you could see her behind me. She's just checking in to see if she really does, in fact, have to keep working. The answer is yes. So you'll notice she is slowing down. Her speed is coming more consistent at a slower rate. Her head position is becoming a little more consistent. It's not going up as far when it goes up, staying more level or down. You can watch the muscles at the base of her neck and the tension that she carries there. You can see that loosening up, lightening up. So again, the goal is to align her spine, take the rotation out of her pelvis that is part of her spine being misaligned, which frees up her body to be able to move correctly. This work is slow, and a lot of people get bored. But what I love about it is that the horses begin to want it. They begin to crave it, and they want to do the work. I exercise a horse once a week. It used to be 2 horses, but we lost one of them last year. And both of them, all I did was exercise them. I've known them for almost as long as I've known Storm, had Storm. And my only responsibility at this point was to come to the barn where they're boarded once a week and exercise them. I don't feed them. I don't muck their stalls. I don't turn them in and out other than retrieving them for exercise. And they had gotten to a point where they absolutely wanted to come work. That's a huge lick and chew. I love it. So I would get back to that. Licks and chews are signs of processing in the horses. It's also a sign of release. Again, if you're licking and chewing, it's difficult to maintain tension patterns. So it's a release. There's also chains of muscles that connect the tongue all the way back through the tail and the back feet. So that is a really good sign whenever they're doing that. I think she has an itch on her nose. Yes, she does. That also could be releasing some sort of muscle tension. I just have to be super careful she doesn't step over that line. Oh, sorry, honey. There we go. Atta girl. She is fairly heavy on these lines, so my hands get tired after a while, but so I have a number of horses that I've worked with over the years that I don't feed. It's not my responsibility. It's not part of what I do with them. All we do is work. And yet they are extremely interested in coming to work, and they want to very quickly. They don't mind being caught. They don't mind coming in. So this work is so valuable to their bodies that they realize that I have a use to them. I'm helpful to them. This would be like your physical therapist or your massage therapist or your body worker showing up at your house and going, hey, we're going to work on you. We're going to help you feel better. Very quickly, you'd be like, yes, please come in. Help me. I love body work. And this is kind of the equivalent of body work in motion, therapy in motion. It's helping her find her balance in her own skin. Another great lick and chew. What is that, 3 or 4? Love it when that happens a lot. She's also blinking a lot. Her eyes are soft. Her ears are relaxed. They're aware of the environment, but they're relaxed. They're even almost flopping just a little bit here and there. She is switching a lot of flies, but the flies bother her pretty badly, so I understand. So this is fast teaching her that a human can have a use to her other than just dumping feed. She's quickly becoming a little love bug, likes hanging out together. She's also very quickly getting to a point where she enjoys seeing people and does not have a problem coming up to strangers at all. People she's never met. those are some nice steps. Very thoughtful steps. So, even though this is about as boring as watching paint dry, it is also important for me to be present and aware of my own body alignment. When I am out of alignment, or the more out of alignment I am, harder it is for her to get into alignment. So I can use this time while I'm standing here almost doing nothing to check in with my own body. How am I aligned over my feet? What muscles are engaged? What's my posture like? Where is my head like? What's the tension in my shoulders like? Miraculously, the more aligned I am, the better aligned she can be, even though I'm not physically touching her, only touching her through the lines. But that is a point of contact, and the lines themselves are conveying energy from me just as much as my presence is, if not more. They're conducting a connection between us. And this line is wrapped around her body, so that's an even more intimate connection. It's also, her halter is on her face. So you have to remember how intimate that really is. Sometimes I think we don't have enough awareness about touching our animals' faces or unfamiliar animals' faces. First thing we do, we see a new dog as we go up and we pet them on the head. I don't know about you, but I don't really care for people walking up to me and patting me on the head. A little bit of a breach of intimacy there, so we need to remember that and respect that with our animals and with horses. And a little bit the same with dogs, with their collars. That's a very intimate space to have control of and a connection to. There's another lovely lick and chew. Lovely, lovely mama. We got about 8 minutes left in this direction, and then we get to switch. There's that sweet spot right there again. So I don't control her speed in this work, only that she doesn't stop, at least not for long. She can ask the question and explore, and sometimes stopping can actually help them make change. But beyond that, I don't control her speed. I manage her speed if she chooses to go very fast. Interesting. Some really big questions about where to place those back feet. But I allow her to work at a speed that she can find her balance. Because what can happen is when they're out of alignment and out of balance, they frequently use momentum to maintain their balance, and therefore they're just going faster and faster. You see this a lot when people lunge their horses in a traditional sense, which is part of why it does not actually calm the horse down. It's why when they're done with lunging, the horse is still completely amped up and has not found any relaxation, because they're using momentum to maintain their speed, and therefore it's not helping them find calmness and comfort. I prefer to work on more quality movement rather than the speed. And when you prioritize that, then the speed comes later. Here's another fantastic lick and chew. You were just rocking along, mama. Good job. what you have to remind yourself is that it goes as fast as it can go. When you put the horse first and their body first, you go as fast as you can go. And some days it feels like a million steps forward, and then you get to another session and it feels like steps backwards. It never truly is. What often happens is it's like the layers of the onion. You peel back a layer and they need to reorganize, or it removes some tension in such a way that they get wobblier because they don't have the stability to sustain it, the musculature to sustain that new alignment. You're doing good, Mama. You gotta keep going. Thank you. You can get dizzy doing this, but thankfully, for the most part, it's not too bad. Good job. Open again? Oh my word. It's only 4? I think it's a record for you. I think it's a record for you. Good job. Frequently, after she stops, whether it's to poop or not, she often restarts herself. So I don't have to make a big deal out of it. The other part about it that's important to recognize is that the halting often builds muscle anyway, so part of that is wrong. Dump truck. So every act of stopping and starting is going to build coordination and build muscle. So if I don't make it wrong, that allows her to explore the process the way that she needs to. And frankly, I can't possibly know exactly what she needs to do to make changes in her body. I can't know that. I'm not her. I'll never be her. All I can do is set her up and ask the question, could you explore? Could you try something? Could you experiment? And so when you focus on finding the answers from that aspect, then it frees the horse up to do the work they need to do in order to get it right. So I am here to support her and here to encourage her to keep asking questions, but only she can figure this out. And once she gets more coordination and more strength built up, then we'll move into riding. But right now, this is all on her to unwind the 20 plus years of habit of movement that she has. Interesting. Good. There was some exploration of movement there. You can watch them put their legs in different places and in different patterns. So people get worried when they see horses moving in ways that are frequently frowned upon. They can chew and a pause, that's fine. You know, they get worried when they see horses with their heads down for, quote, too long. They get worried when they see horses with their heads tipped to the outside of a circle too much. The thing is, again, I can't possibly know how she can find alignment in her spine. And often the horse has to do unusual things with their body, or things that appear to be out of alignment in order to start building alignment. Another lick and chew in that sweet spot. That was a quick one. In order for them to build that alignment, though, they have to go through these processes. This is why mechanical aids like running martingales or draw reins or different things like that aren't helpful in the long run because they force the horse's body into a position that we deem appropriate or acceptable when the horse's balance and coordination may not be able to support that. And honestly, if the horse's balance and coordination could support it, they'd be able to do it and you wouldn't need the mechanical aids. So the majority of work I do is with very simple tack. Here, I'm not even working with a bit in her mouth. Oh. One step at a time and another marvelous lick and chew. There's our 30-minute mark. So we're going to swing around. Let's see how smoothly we can do this. Some days you get it really good. The line is wet. Stuck. Watch the fence, baby girl. Watch the fence. Woo! All right. Here we go. There we go. There's her little gait a bit. There we go. Good job, Mama. Good job. Restart that if we can get the button. All right. Now we got to get our lines back in order so we don't trip because the handler tripping is not helpful. Let's just throw that up there out of the way. There we go. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. And she's right back down to being calm. Very good. I don't like how that is. There we go. That's better. I don't know that I've done this for 10,000 hours, but I sure have done it for an awful long time. There we go. Let's just throw that over our shoulder. That works very well to keep it out of the way. So, new direction, new stuff. You can't assume the same thing is going to happen this way. Horses are often unbalanced on one side versus the other. They have different challenges one way versus the other. So you always have to start fresh with a fresh attitude and a fresh look. It often helps that they're settled into the work already, so switching directions is usually minimal drama compared to whatever drama you had when you started. Sometimes if you switch to the harder direction for the horse, it can be a little bit more dramatic, kind of like she was a little more dramatic starting this way than she had been going the other way, but that's fine. There's also a dog truck and some stuff going on, so understandable. So this way, you can see her head is back up a little bit more. There's the unevenness to her stride and her gait. The wobbliness is more obvious. This is technically her harder direction, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot. Certain things can be easier, even though it's their harder direction. So this way puts her right hind on the inside of the circle, which is technically her weaker leg, but that does not necessarily mean that it's going to be more difficult this way for her. So she's settling in very, very quickly. But again, on the whole, her head is a little higher. There's more tension in her body. But there's a slowing of the speed already very quickly. One of the things that I work on doing when I'm doing this work is allowing my arms to be released. There's no tension in my arms. She's very heavy though, which is normal for this point in the progress. And so I need to make sure that I am holding from my core and from my back and not with my arms. Number one, my arms will get very tired. So that's not helpful to me or to her if I'm going to give her the length of work that she needs in order to make some really deep changes, which is an hour right now. Ooh, big wobble. Yes, good job. Nice big blue. A little bit of a wobble there. But immediately after that, she's dropping her head and a nice big lick and chew. So sometimes things kind of look funky right before they make changes. And this can fall into that it gets worse before it gets better category, which is such a normal pattern for like everything. When you're learning things, so often you go through a period, you start learning, it looks good, and then all of a sudden it feels hard, things fall apart, you can't figure stuff out, you're making mistakes everywhere. And then you have to keep going through that because on the other side of that is a whole lot more awareness and coordination. She might have a bug somewhere. We don't worry about it though. So you've got to keep going through those sticky spots in order to find the coordination and find the new skill. There's a whole lot going on there. She just got super heavy again. And now there's some changes going on. It's easiest to see changes in her legs and her stride and the way her legs are landing, but that's all indicative of changes going on in her core, in the alignment of her spine, in the organization of her pelvis. Like that's the reflection of the changes, which is why you can't manage a horse into balance if all you're worrying about is where the legs are and where the head is. Because the movement doesn't come from there. The movement comes from their spine, their core, and the alignment of all those pieces. What people so often call conformation of a horse is actually just posture. The problem is the majority of people don't understand how to make changes in the horse, so they don't know how to make those changes for the better. They just label the horse with a specific body condition. Oh, heavy, heavy. And she's pulling. There we go. They don't know how to make adjustments and guide the horse to better movement so that those problems disappear. Most people will easily identify, oh, a horse needs more muscle. but they don't know how to specifically target the muscles that are for their balance and for their alignment. Yep, good job. A little wobble, but that's okay. She stretches her head down real far and then she gets super heavy, falls out of the circle. So the line in my outside hand just slides out. So again, my goal is to keep the tension even between the inside line, which is now my right hand, and the outside line, which is in my left hand. So I am continually using feedback from what's going on in my right hand to tell me what I need to do with the rein in my left hand. Yeah, you can let him out. Sorry about that. So if I get slack in the inside rein, then I have to take up the outside rein. I let the dogs out in the field. So if they run around a lot, maybe she might get spicy, but I doubt it. I doubt it, because she's good. And she's seen the dogs a million times. Good job, Mama. Good job, Mama. Running further behind today than I expected to be. That's all right. We run on horse time. So we do what we can do as fast as we can do it. There's a lovely lick and chew. Excellent. And a nice little breath. And nice slowing of her speed, some changes in the alignment of her back legs again. They look, yes, you're working hard. Thank you. Keep going. Good job. Her hind legs look like they are striding more squarely, a little bit more evenly. It doesn't look quite natural yet. So one of the confirmation things people might identify about her is it looks like she has a very high tail set. So it looks like her tail is very high, so it's almost up level with her back. But that has to do more with the angle of her pelvis, the alignment of her pelvis, than her actual tail. And so the longer I work with her over time, you may see that begin to change. You may see that alignment appear to be different over time. It will take quite a long time, but that's all right. So every now and then you can hear her, and you probably aren't able to hear it on the video because it's really quiet, but her hind foot actually taps the back of her front foot before she steps forward. I call that forging. And what people often don't realize is that that has to do more with the alignment of the front legs than the actual alignment of the hind legs. And there's something also called tracking up, where the horse's hind foot falls directly into the footprint of their front foot. And again, they think that it means that the hind end is coming forward mechanically. The problem is what's generally happening is the front is actually going backwards because there's too much weight distribution on the horse's front legs versus their back legs. The challenge is that horses need the hind end to be, technically speaking, braking in order to lift weight off the front end. So phases of the movement of the hind leg, there is the pushing phase. The opposite of that is the braking phase. So braking as in like slowing down, braking in a car. And that phase is when that hind leg is coming forward. So when the foot steps forward, it is actually braking the momentum that is created by the movement of the body. The challenge is most horses have too much pushing phase in the hind end and not enough braking. The pushing phase is from the point when the leg is vertical backwards as they push off in the forward movement. What happens is the horse puts too much weight on the front end, which tips them forward, which means their front legs go backward, and their hind legs are pushed out behind them too far, which means they're losing power kind of out the back, if you think about it that way. She has gotten very, very heavy. Her head is down, and she is very much experimenting with the movement right now. This is pretty challenging to manage. Whoa, there was a big capsize there. You're all right. Good job, I know. Let's get back on track. There we go. Woof, that was a big one. Every now and then they kind of wobble so bad they lose themselves. So she was really going through a bunch of experimentation there and just kind of lost all of her coordination, which is fine. She got very, very difficult to hold too because she was super heavy. But now you notice her movement quality looks even better. So that really weird moment, all that head down, that wiggle wobble, that was super heavy on the line, and she kind of lost everything, and then she comes back, and it looks a lot better. Now we're going back into the wobble again. She's getting heavy on the outside line again. This is where it becomes even more critical that I do my best to stay in the best alignment I have to support her. Oh, another poop. Oh my goodness. This is definitely a record today, baby girl. Heavy, heavy, heavy. Yep, that's your poop. I should have worn my gloves for this today. I'll have to remember to do that next time. I don't like wearing gloves because it does add another layer that between me and the horse, and I have to be very aware of my own feel. tension on the lines, but there are times where it is pretty necessary because otherwise my hand gets burned up. And they get very tired gripping the reins so strongly. I have to be very conscious to make sure that I'm only holding on as tight as I absolutely need to and no tighter. There we go with the heavy again. So I really ground into my feet, engage my core. Come on. Buggy. We might have to stop a minute or two early because I'm running over my time. That is what happens with horse time. You just got to keep adjusting. So thank you for hanging out with us today. We really appreciate it. Miss B is doing marvelous. And we'll keep posting these as often as we can. Whoa, there goes another big wobble. Very good. Very good. I hate to stop her early because she's doing so good, but that's all right. Good job, Mama. Very good job. All right. Hey, whoa. Hey, whoa. Hey, whoa. Hey, whoa. Good job. Good job. Thank you, Mama. You did good.